Bruchim Habayim, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Aventura Turnberry Jewish Center for the City of Aventura's official annual commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It was 81 years ago today, January 27th, 1945, that the Allies liberated the largest Nazi concentration camp, Auschwitz-Birkenau. This day is marked all over the world to remember the victims of the Holocaust, and among them, 6 million Jews, and also to promote Holocaust education and awareness. My name is Rabbi Jonathan Birkin, and I am one of the rabbis of this synagogue, and it is my honor to welcome all of you, the students and faculty of the Don Sofer Aventura High School, Principal Jeffrey McKee, Assistant Principals Pamela Clapier and Shana Hernandez, our honored Holocaust survivor and special guest speaker, Anita Carl, and I know members of our city elected officials are with us, among them Mayor Howard Weinberg, City Manager Brian Pegues, the entire Aventura City Commission, Gustavo Blockman, Cindy Orlinsky, Clifford Ain, Paul Cruz, Rachel Friedland, Amit Bloom, Chief of Police Michael Bentalila, Deputy Consul General of the State of Israel Ayelet Black is here with us, some wonderful volunteers and parents, previous and current parents of the school. We want to thank especially the Principal Jeffrey McGee for working closely with my colleague here at the synagogue, Rabbi Guido Cohen, to put this meaningful annual program together. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to learn about the Holocaust, not from a book, not from a movie, and not from a historical document. We are going to be privileged to hear firsthand testimony from Anita Carl, who survived the Holocaust herself. Now, every Sabbath, every Shabbat, every Saturday here in this sanctuary, we are blessed to pray with many Holocaust survivors who went on to live a long, fulfilling life with growing families of their own. Their spirit and their zest for life is always an inspiration, and I believe you will also be inspired today. Now, even though the personal testimony that we will hear is about events that happened many decades ago, it is very important that we not think of Holocaust education as only history. We don't have to go back in time. We don't even have to go back to Europe to find many modern day examples of anti-Semitism, of racism, of dehumanization, and all forms of hatred in both word and violent deed. Now, some of you may know that it was just a few years ago, on October 27th, 2018, in the city of Pittsburgh, that a rabid anti-Semitic murderer entered the Tree of Life Synagogue and shot 11 Jews, innocent Jews, massacring them while they prayed on the Sabbath. And while shooting, the man shouted out loud, "All Jews must die." That synagogue was my childhood synagogue. I grew up there. My father was the rabbi there. The people who died there were people that I knew when I was younger than you are now. And it was the deadliest attack against Jews in the history of the United States. It is hard to believe that nearly 80 years after the Holocaust, someone could hate Jews so much on that day and do what that man did. But then again, while we wait for the anti-Semitic data of 2025 to be calculated, let me tell you about 2024. In 2024, there were 9,354 anti-Semitic incidents across the United States. This represents a 5% increase from 2023 and a 344% increase over the past 5 years and an 893% increase over the last 10 years. It's the highest number on record since the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, began tracking anti-Semitic incidents 46 years ago. Incidents of vandalism and assault increased significantly in 2024, assaults by 21%, vandalism by 20%, and harassment incidents continued and remained steady for a total of 6,552 incidents. And for the first time in the history of the audit, a majority of all incidents contained elements related to Israel or Zionism. A large portion of Israel-related anti-Semitic incidents occurred at or in the vicinity of anti-Israel protests. Out of over 5,000 anti-Israel rallies tracked by the ADL in 2024, 2,596 of them involved anti-Semitic messaging in the form of signs, chants, and speeches. Incidents on colleges and university campuses rose more steeply than any other environment. In 2024, the ADL recorded 1,694 anti-Semitic incidents on college campuses, which is 84% over 2023. Campus incidents comprised 18% of all incidents, a larger proportion than in any previous audit. Jewish organizations, particularly synagogues, are also targeted with hundreds of bomb threats, hundreds of more anti-Semitic threats. Congregants are harassed and even assaulted while at or in the vicinity of Jewish institutions, and some anti-Israel groups escalated their tactics protesting Jewish religious and cultural institutions on dozens of occasions. These incidents have occurred in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia, and the states with the highest level of incidents are New York and California. Now, since the massacre of Jews on Israeli sovereign soil on October 7th, 2023, we have seen a resurgence of hatred against Jews not seen since the days Anita survived the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism and other forms of hatred and racism are skyrocketing, and they don't always take the form of shootings or hostage takings or beatings. It might just simply be a comment that you hear, maybe at school, maybe something disguised as a joke. It might be something about Jews and money, or about Jews and power, or about a Jewish nose. It can be an assumption someone makes about a person because of the color of their skin, or the country she comes from, or the language he speaks, or the religion she practices. Now, when we learn about the Holocaust in the way we will today, will not only learn about the story of one individual's miraculous survival. We will also learn how we can better fight all forms of anti-Semitism, prejudice, bigotry, discrimination, bias, and intolerance. It's a fight we all must fight every single day of our lives. It is often said about the Holocaust that a small number of actual perpetrators relied on large populations of good people to stay silent, to do nothing, to remain quiet, to look the other way. The Nazis needed people like that, just to not speak up and not speak out. We hope that today will inspire you to do exactly that, to speak up and to speak out in the fight against anti-Semitism, racism, hatred, bigotry. May we never be silent in the face of injustice, and may we never again allow an atrocity like the Holocaust to happen to anyone, anywhere. So at this time, once again, to remind you to make sure your cell phones are silenced, off, or on vibrate, I want to welcome Holocaust survivor, member of our congregation, Anita Carl, to tell us what happened to her, what happened to her family, what happened to our people, in her very own words and from her very own life experience. Please join me in a rousing round of applause welcoming Anita Carl.
1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 21 22 23 24 25 26 27 28 29 30 31 32 33 34 35 36 37 38 39 40 41 42 43 44 45 46 47 48 49 50 51 52 53 54 55 56 57 58 59 60 61 62 63 64 65 66 67 68 69 70 71 72 73 74 75 76 77 78 79 80 81 82 83 84 85 86 87 88 89 90 91 92 93 94 95 96 97 98 99 100 101 102 103 104 105 106 107 108 109 110 111 112 113 114 115 116 117 118 119 120 121 122 123 124 125 126 127 128 129 130 131 132 133 134 135 136 137 138 139 140 141 142 143 144 145 146 147 148 149 150 151 152 153 154 155 156 1 Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I am so happy that you all came to listen to me and to hear my story. My name is Anita Karol. I was born in Lwów, Poland, on May 26, 1938, into a large, patriarchal, Orthodox, and well-to-do family. My father, Samuel Karol, was one of 6 brothers, and my mother, Mali Brandt, was the youngest of 10 siblings. They were all married and with several children each. Among the millions of Jews brutally murdered, all my aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandparents perished. The only survivors against all odds were my mother and 3 daughters. What we endured was unimaginable, and just to survive was an accomplishment. But to survive with our sanity intact was nothing short of a miracle. When I was 3 years old, the Nazis invaded my house. They looted my house and gave us 24 hours to leave it and to move into a ghetto, a poor part of the family of the city of Lwów. Lwów was a beautiful city and still is, with a large Jewish population. And people lived in peace for hundreds of years until the Nazis came with their Nuremberg laws. And we were not allowed to go to school, to practice a profession, or even to own some properties. So they took away all of our things. They made us wear the yellow Star of David so we would be identified on the streets, and started to deprive us of our humanity. I was taken to the Lwów ghetto, and the world as I knew forever disappeared. We lived and died in a man-made hell where it was easier to die than to live. One of the most dramatic experiences that still lives within me forever was the day I played with my little cousin. We were on the street, sitting in a corner, and a German officer came by, looked at us, pulled out a bar of chocolate from his pocket and asked us, "Who wants this piece of chocolate?" We both opened our eyes wide, got up, and ran towards him. We were starving, and we had not seen a chocolate bar in probably over a year. My little cousin was faster than I and reached him before I could. The German officer picked her up. With one hand, he gave her the chocolate, and with the other hand, he took out his pistol and shot her in the head. The child fell to the ground. He dusted his pants and walked away. What did this innocent girl do to him? She was only 5 years old. What turned this man of 20-some years into a wild beast? Where was his humanity? Did he have a soul? I still remember standing in line every day in the ghetto for my daily rations of food. It consisted of a cup of water, a small stale piece of bread, which I ate crumb by crumb, so it would last me 24 hours. I knew for the first time what hunger meant. I was always hungry. I never had enough. They fed us with small portions of nothing. But yet, I looked forward to that little piece of stale bread. Thanks to the great courage of my mother, we were able to escape from the ghetto into a strange world where my life as a Catholic girl began. After we escaped, my mother took us to another small city where no one knew us. We went to the police station, and after many, many hours of interrogation, they wanted to make sure that we were what my mother was telling them, that she was the wife of a Polish officer who was fighting at the front, and our house had been bombed, and all the documents disappeared in the fire. So she was asking for new ID papers. They brought out finally a Bible, and on the Bible, my mother had to swear that to the third generation, there was not one drop of Jewish blood coursing through our veins. After she swore on the Bible, we were given the ID papers necessary. It is with great pride and honor that I remember my mother, a silent heroine of our people, who stood up to the Nazis with courage to save her 3 children, who escaped death and came out victorious, and always told me that each of us has the necessary strength within her or him in dire circumstances. She carried with her a vial of poison in case she failed to protect us. She told me that you never know how strong you are until strong is your only option. She was forced to choose between saving the life of her husband or the lives of her 3 daughters. This impossible choice haunted her for the rest of her life. In the end, my parents chose to save their daughters. My father, who was 32 years old at the time, said, "I have lived my life. Let the children live and bear witness to this horror." The last time I saw my father, I was sick with angina and running a very high fever. With no antibiotics, the doctors, my parents thought I would not make it through the night. So my father, who was hiding behind a closet, came out in the middle of the night and hugged me and kissed me. And the next morning I was feeling better, and I asked my mother, who was this wonderful man who was here with me all night? And my mother said, no one was here. You have been hallucinating. But I had a scarf around my neck that he had given to me to make me feel better during the night. I never saw my father again. The Nazis murdered my father after making him dig his own grave in a forest, and I do not know where he lies, never able to bring flowers to his grave. When I was 14 years old, I comprehended the magnitude, monstrosity, and evil of the crimes committed against us. And how could the world stand by and do nothing? What the Nazis did to us, it is really unbelievable. From our skin, they made lampshades. From our hair, they made mattresses. And from the bones incinerated in the gas chambers, they made fertilizers. Who can imagine things like that? Who can imagine cruelty that goes so far? Now, when I look at the sweet faces of my children, my grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, I know we not only survived, but we won over the evil that reigned upon us. The lives of my people will continue into infinity. I wish with all my heart that the Holocaust will never be forgotten. We must look into our past so we will have a peaceful future. Today, crimes still linger and live amongst us. The resurgence of anti-Semitism is an enormous preoccupation, especially as we move further away from the lessons of the Holocaust. But through education, we can avoid history repeating itself. We must stand alert and proud and protest against the evil of the old enemy. I hope that someday we will be free of bigotry, persecution, and racism, and that the new generations will never allow the horrors of the Holocaust to happen again. Thank you very much.
I want to thank Anita for once again giving her testimony and sharing her story from this bima at this synod. And now it is the moment for us to engage in conversation with Anita, because what she shared with us is only a tiny bit of what she lived through those 5 years during the Holocaust. So I imagine many of you have questions and things that you want to know better about her story, and if not, we will engage in conversation with Anita. But I want to invite students to line up here in front of that microphone next to the camera so that you can ask your questions. We would love for the questions to be actual questions and not monologues, but come on, don't be shy.
Before you ask your question, we would love for you to just introduce yourself first, okay? You can, let me make sure the microphone is on.
Hello, my name is Ben, and my question is, how did you escape from the ghetto?
From the ghetto, it was almost impossible to escape because that part of the city was, the Germans barbed wired it, and they were all the time patrolling it with dogs. So escape was not an option. But when my mother heard that they were going to have a transport to the concentration camps, and there were 150,000 people at some point in the ghetto. Of those 150,000 people, only 200 survived. I am one of them. The rest of the people were taken into the cattle carts and transported to Majdanek, to Treblinka, to Auschwitz for extermination. They would put them 100 in each cart, shoulder to shoulder standing. But children under 11 years of age would be a nuisance. They could not travel for 3 hours standing in that situation. So the commandant of the ghetto decided to kill all the children. It was called a razzia on the children. And my mother and father decided that they would not submit to that. They thought how to escape. There had to be a way, although it was impossible, but there had to be a way. My mother was very courageous, and she was very strong, and she wanted to protect her 3 daughters. So she decided to mingle with all the families of the commandant. Since the war was long, the families had come to establish themselves in Lvov, and they lived there. But every day they came to visit the commandant and the executive people of the ghetto. They came with their children and their wives and the women. And so my mother decided that she would mingle amongst the Germans and just walk with them, and if she was lucky, we would survive. No one would pay any attention to us. And with some jewelry that they had smuggled to the ghetto, her sisters, they gave it to her. She acquired a vial of poison in case it fails. She dressed us up. I was very blonde, fair. I did not have the Jewish look, as they said. And I was always the front. And we walked out from the ghetto with these women and children that had come to visit as one of them. So that's how we did it.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for coming up to speak to us. I just have a quick question about...
What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Santiago Paz. I would like to ask how did you feel about the Nazis back then, and how you feel about them now? As you might know, they were conscripted into the army, and not all of them were very horrible persons. But as you met one, like an officer, he was a horrible person. So I would just like to know how you feel about them before versus now.
Before, I was deathly afraid of any man in uniform because they meant death. They represented evil and cruelty. And most of the Germans were Nazis because those that did not join the party were discriminated, were abused, and there were very few of those that did not join the party. I cannot forget their faces, and I cannot forgive what they did to my family. What right did they have to leave me without my cousins, never being able to spend with my aunts a weekend or go and give a kiss to my grandmother or grandfather? Who gave them the right to do that to me? So it is unforgivable, and it never can be forgotten.
My name is Aureen, and ever since October 7th, do you think you felt like similar anti-Semitism like now, since like in the past?
First of all, I never thought that I would live to see these evil things happening again. What happened is not to be realized that today in our way of life, with all the advantages, that these crimes can be committed again. That's why we must be wary, we must be always alert, and not allow these things to happen.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jonathan, and in a world where there's large amounts of anti-Semitism and other kinds of racial hatred, what is your message to young people who are Jewish, and even people who are not Jewish, that might face some kind of hatred or bigotry in their lifetime? What is your message to them?
My message to them is very simple. You must respect and love each other, because each one of us is different. We are beautiful in our own way. We belong to humanity, and we must keep what is right and understand what is evil. We must go into the future educating ourselves and understanding that no one is better or worse than the other. Not because of the color of the skin, not because they are fat or they are not as thin, or they are tall or they are short. Each one of us not only has the strength to accomplish that, but we must not allow, when we see things that are not proper, we must be upstanders. We cannot be bystanders and allow injustice to happen.
Thank you.
My name is Enzo, and my question is, why do you think the Holocaust happened, and what can we do to avoid future events like the Holocaust?
The Holocaust happened because there were many political situations in Germany, and they were losing their strength. They needed scapegoats. They needed people that did not belong to them. The Jewish people that lived among the Germans or anywhere in the world, they keep their identity. We know who we are. And our religion, we must remember, it's the oldest monotheistic religion today. And we will not assimilate, and we will not change, because the traditions are from millions of years ago. So we are, and we defend what we are, and the Germans did not agree with that. So they came with laws and ways of, if they don't want to assimilate, if they don't want to be part of us, then nobody else wants them, unfortunately. So the only way is to eliminate them, to murder them, to take them off the life, as it were. And so they dedicated themselves to plan that and execute it. And that's how the Holocaust started.
Thanks so much.
My name is Landon, and I was wondering, what did your family do after they got the IDs from the police station?
When we got the IDs, we became Catholics on the service. Inside, my mother knew that we were not, but as time passed, I forgot that I was Jewish. And I was very, very comfortable with my new life as a Catholic. And I went to church every Sunday, and I prayed. At the beginning, I sat in the last row with my sisters and my mother. And she told us, when the people in front of us kneel, you kneel. If they make the sign of the cross, you make the sign of the cross. And so slowly, I graduated to the first row. And I helped the priest with his mass, with the mass, and everything was peaceful, beautiful, and quiet. And I had food. Although the woman where we lived was very anti-Semitic, and she always told me, if you don't behave, the Jew is going to get you. So in my little child of 4 or 5 years old, I was scared. But yet, after the war, when my mother told us that we were really Jews, I did not want to be Jewish. I cried for many, many weeks and months, but eventually, with a lot of love, she told me the story of my people and who we are, where we come from, and I became a very good Jewish woman. I had 2 children, I got married, they were raised in the Jewish tradition. And today I have 6 grandchildren, I have 3 great-grandchildren, and I have a son and a daughter who surround me with love and care.
Hi, I'm Anna, and my question is, after World War II ended and you realized you were Jewish, did you feel scared to speak up, about your experience?
Yes, yes. When the war was over, we were liberated in Krakow. The Russians came and liberated us and gave us everything we wanted. They were so good to the children, especially giving us chocolate bars, which I remember clearly. But my mother had a question to herself. She was a young widow with 3 children that did not know that they were Jewish. So she posed to herself a question: shall I tell them that they are Jewish, that we are Jewish, or shall I stay here in Krakow as a Catholic, let them grow up, marry Catholic children, boys, and never have a problem to being persecuted again, to being killed, to being exterminated? That was a big question for her. But yet her Jewish blood and all her ancestors were clamoring for her to tell us the truth. So a few months later, when we were in the DP camps in Germany, she told me one night that I don't have to go on my knees and say the Pater Nostrum every night, the prayer that the Catholic people do, but she would teach me how to say a Shaddai, which is the Jewish prayer to go to sleep. And for many months, I did that, what she told. We were very obedient children. With one look my mother gave us, we knew if we should speak or not speak or be quiet, and I tried it on my children, but it didn't work at all. So she sat with me and I said the Shaddai, and the moment she left the room, I was on my knees saying the Catholic prayer, just in case. I wanted to be safe with both sides.
Hi, my name is Penelope, and if the Holocaust hadn't ended when it had, do you think it would have gotten worse, and how long do you think it would have lasted?
I cannot even imagine that it would not end when it ended. We somehow would not allow it to continue. But in an imaginary situation, if it did continue, and instead of us being the winners of this war, and the Nazis somehow won, it would have been a very sad world. Half of the world's population would have been exterminated, because they were not only against the Jews, they were also against people that had different sexual intentions, people who had a different color of skin. They were the personification of evil and of segregation, if we might call it like that. They did not like the Roma people, which are the gypsies. Whoever, being German or not German, who had a disease that was not curable, they were also murdered in Germany by the Germans. So yes, let's hope it never happens again, and we will always consider ourselves the winners. They no longer exist in our mind, in our lives.
Do we have any more questions? This one.
Coming.
Hi, my name is Charlotte, and I'd just like to ask you, how did you keep your...
Closer to the microphone. No. Yeah. No. You get mouth.
Hi, my name is Charlotte, and I'd just like to ask you, how did you keep your hope? How did you keep your faith during the Holocaust, during these hard times?
Well, first of all, we have to remember that I was between 3 and 8 years old of age while the Holocaust was happening. And I did not understand the political part of it. I did not understand persecution. I did not understand. My world was dedicated to what am I going to eat in a few minutes, and how am I going to put something warm on me. And the fear, the constant fear of seeing the Nazis, because they were very explosive. They would kill for nothing. They would, I was afraid of them, and I was afraid of their dogs. So I could not imagine anything futuristic in the future because of my age. I was just a little girl.
Maybe afterwards, after the Holocaust, did your faith change? Or maybe...
Hi Anita, my name is Leon, and I'm very touched by your story, and I'm sure everybody in this room is also. And
Thank you.
I see how you told your story, very confident, very bold, and I'm wondering how you gained the strength over time to tell the stories.
Practice, practice, and practice. I have been doing this since I was 19 years old. As it happened, when I finished high school in Lima, I went to the American embassy and I asked for a full scholarship to the United States. They gave me a full scholarship. I was able to acquire the full scholarship to come to the United States, but I had no right to choose the university that I wanted to go. So they offered me an international women's college in Kansas City, near Kansas City, not even in Kansas City. So I found myself the only student that was Jewish, the only Jewish student. And the rest of the population were completely ignorant of what it meant to be Jewish. So I took strength where there was none and decided once a week to speak to them and explain what Judaism was. I studied philology, which is the study of languages, for those that don't know. I speak 9 languages today. And I started lecturing on the Holocaust at 19 years of age. And I never stopped.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nicholas. First of all, I want to thank you so much for coming out here. I know you just said that it took a lot of courage to come and speak out about, your past.
Thank you.
I just have a very simple question. Have you gone back and visited the ghetto that you spent your entire childhood in?
I have gone back to Poland for 3 or 4 times with the March of the Living, and I was never able to reach Lviv, the city where I was born, because after the war, when the Allies divided Europe, as it may, the Russians took over Lviv, my city. So it was the Iron Curtain. We could not go there. And finally, many, many years later, all the family reunited, those that are here and from South America. And we had tickets. By then, Lviv belonged to Ukraine. We had airline tickets, reservation guides, everything was arranged, and COVID came. So COVID, we had to cancel everything. And so I never went to Lviv. But if you have an opportunity to go there someday, it is a beautiful city. It is like Prague. It has palaces, it has museums, and the most beautiful synagogues used to be there. But today there are dozens of churches that are so, so beautiful. So I leave in your hands to someday go to Lviv in my name and visit.
Hello, Leah. My name is AJ Shahar. I first want to thank you very much for coming and do these speeches. I learned a lot. My question is not too much. I want to ask if you seek further education after the war ended.
Yes, I received, I went to, after the war ended, we went to Peru. The oldest brother of my father was the only bachelor in the family, and he lived in Vienna. And there he practiced medicine. He was a doctor. And when the Nazis annexed Austria, the Nuremberg laws stated that no Jew can practice any profession, and of course not medicine. So they wrote him a letter from the hospital telling him that he was no longer able to work there. And by the way, we have the letter to show how they dismissed him. And the only country that gave him a visa, he applied to many countries. The only one gave him the visa was Peru. And so after the war, we emigrated to Lima, to Peru, where I studied grade school and high school.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexandra, and I wanted to ask what your stance is on the importance of having a Jewish homeland after the Holocaust, and especially nowadays with all the anti-Semitism going on.
Having a homeland for us, Israel, is a dream come true. Today, Israel does not stand alone. They are friends that help Israel. And by having this state, we are secured, because Israel would always have our back. Israel is our homeland. We are the people of the book. We are the people that gave to humanity the 10 Commandments. Such a simple thing that lives with us all over the world, among all the humanities. Every day we live with the 10 Commandments, and we gave the 10 Commandments to the world. So as long as we have Israel, we can live eventually in peace.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I was wondering if you still have any contact with the other survivors, and like if you ever talked to them.
Yes, I do. I do have contacts, especially with the survivors here in Florida. There are a few that I know and that we have become friends. And in Lima, there are 3 survivors, maybe, and I know them too.
Hi, good morning. My name is Emma, and I was wondering how, after the Holocaust, how was your perception on life and on other people, and how you got through that?
After the war, it all went well. I came to a country that received us with open arms. My mother was able to live in peace and quiet. And only when I was 14 years, I realized about what happened to me. And I rebelled. I was very furious. I wanted vengeance. I wanted somebody to do to the Nazis what they did to us. But I have learned to live with this situation and accept it. But it is hard not to hug a brother or a sister. That's why I ask you all, go home, call your grandparents, hug them, kiss them, just because. There doesn't need to be a reason. Don't fight with your brother and sister. Hug them, love them. And also your aunts and uncles, call them, ask them, how are you? I love you. Because it is a privilege to have them. I was unfortunate not to be able to have these experiences. But you, my children, you have it all today. So practice what I tell you. And never disobey your parents. Be good children.
And teachers. She meant to say never disobey your parents and your teachers, but
The principal is very important, that you do not disobey his orders.
Thank you, Ms. Carl. More than just for that statement, I first want to say it's an entire honor for all of us to be in your presence and to hear your wisdom. We have an honor roll coming up on Friday. There's some brand new honor roll gear, and you'll be the first to receive the honor roll items. So here's your Don Sofer Aventura High School honor roll gear. The last time I was actually here was for the funeral of Mr. Sofer. And as all of you know who have been to this event in the past, this was a highlight of his year, and he would speak to us. He was not repetitive, which is rare for someone of his age, and I'm trying to avoid it myself, but there was one charge that he gave 3 times in his last speech last year. And some of you may remember, he always started with a funny story, several, until his wife would start giving him the signal, like, enough, get on with it. And he got very serious at the end, and he may have known in his heart it would be his last time speaking to us. He said, "Make me proud." He said it again, "Make me proud." And a third time, "Make me proud." I have to say there's nothing that any of you could do to make him more proud, hopefully from his heavenly vantage point, than follow the wisdom, follow what you were just taught, and especially demonstrating that strength, which is the strength that is absolutely necessary when you must demonstrate that strength to survive, the strength that you demonstrated. And I have to say, I believe there's something beyond that strength, and that's the strength to go back to your trauma and relive that experience and share with others that they may prevent this from ever happening again. And for that strength, I'm just so grateful on behalf of our entire school community. Thank you. a very strong young lady who I know is going to carry on this mission throughout her life. Samantha, if you'll please come forward. This is Samantha Gross, and she's the president of our Jewish Student Union, and just an amazing young lady.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Gross, and I'm the president of the Jewish Student Union. And I'm honored to be able to speak with you all today. I first want to thank Mrs. Carl. Thank you for finding the courage to revisit the past, and thank you for entrusting us to carry your story into the future. I stand before you as a senior in our high school, and in many ways, our lives are very similar. I sit in the same classes as you. I'm part of similar clubs. I work a job. I hang out with my friends, just like many of you. But lately, life for Jews has been a little bit different. When I get dressed for the day and I put on my jewelry, I have to think about my safety. I know jewelry and safety may not seem very related, but it changes everything. Something as simple as wearing the Star of David, a necklace with Hebrew lettering, or this yellow pin changes the look I get from strangers in public. It changes how safe I feel when I enter stores or restaurants I used to never think twice about. Today, wearing a Star of David is a risk we Jews take. In fact, 42% of Jews reported feeling afraid to wear any Jewish symbol in public, probably because almost 1 in 5 Jews last year were physically or verbally assaulted after being identified as Jewish. 1 in 5. When I enter this very synagogue for Shabbat services, I must walk through the metal detectors we all walked through today and be searched by armed guards for weapons. I walk past parked ambulances waiting for the worst case scenario to happen. And unfortunately, it has. As Rabbi Birkin said, in 2018, 11 Jews were shot and killed inside a synagogue. And a few months ago, during Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish religion, 2 worshipers were murdered inside a synagogue in England. This is not the 1930s, this is not World War II. I'm talking about right now, and I'm talking about today. Our reality as a Jewish people is echoing the past. On Kristallnacht in 1938, which is often said as one of the biggest events that catalyzed the rest of the Holocaust, 1,400 synagogues were burned and destroyed by the Nazis. Just last year, there were 1,702 bomb threats, swastikas drawn, and violent acts in synagogues, more than that night in the Holocaust. Anti-Semitism has grown worldwide. In Germany, incidents doubled after October 7th, 2023. Just a few months ago, over 50 swastikas were drawn in a town in Germany in human blood. In Australia, attacks quadrupled since October 7th. What started as a protest with a chant that said, "F the Jews," turned into a recent massacre on Bondi Beach with 15 Jews shot and killed during a Hanukkah celebration. Among the murdered was a Holocaust survivor. Even in Israel, the only place in the world where Jews are meant to be able to practice our religion freely and safely, over 1,219 people, Jews, Christians, and everyone in between, were beaten, raped, and horrifically murdered on October 7th. Hundreds were taken hostage, and the very last hostage's body was returned only yesterday. History has shown us what violence and hatred starts with. It starts with silence. It starts with people who choose to be comfortable in order to avoid conflict, instead of standing up for what's right. That's why being here today matters. That's why listening to stories like Ms. Carl's matters. You've heard firsthand what happens when we stay silent. Harmless jokes turn into violent protests, and then into destroyed synagogues and murdered Jews. These warning signs have returned, but we are strong enough to fight this hatred. But it's going to take all of us, from Jews, from Christians, from Muslims, and from everyone in between. So I'm asking you, listen to these stories with your mind open and to question everything you see online. I'm sure we've all seen lies and hateful messaging on social media. Some go as far as to deny that the Holocaust even happened. Don't follow narratives just because they're popular or because they went viral. We've seen where that's led us. Never let social media or even your friends think for you. Speak up when something feels wrong. Challenge the people around you who spread misinformation or who make a joke that really isn't a joke. When we get back to school today, talk to your friends who chose not to come today. Tell them Ms. Carl's story. It's our responsibility to fight hatred and to build a future where everyone is safe and included. Change starts with education, and it starts with thinking critically about the world around us. And above all, it starts with you. Thank you.
I believe there are some parents who, on behalf of the parents of all the students of the Don Sofer Aventura High School, are going to present Anita with a gift. I want to take this opportunity to thank Nira and Galit and Diane, who is like emerita, parent emerita. And I also want to thank all of the teachers and staff of the school, especially Ms. Hernandez, Ms. Levy, who put a lot of effort into making this event happen. I want to thank Chief of Police, Michael Ventolila, and the rest of the police officers here with us, protecting us, South Florida Hatsala, and many other people who made this event possible. We're going to now proceed with the commemoration of International Holocaust Remembrance Day by lighting 6 candles in memory of 6 million Jews who perished in the Shoah. I believe there are students who have been chosen for this task. And as we invite the students to approach the stage, I want to highlight something very important that Samantha just said. There are 660 seats in this sanctuary. And I think you all know there are over 800 students at Don Sofer Aventura High School. Look at the empty seats. Here in the back, those are your classmates who chose not to show up. The Holocaust didn't happen only because of the evil of the Nazis. The Holocaust was possible because of the indifference of people who thought of themselves as good people, but chose to remain indifferent. Every year when we plan this event, we look at how many students the school has, and we decide whether we open that partition so that we can accommodate 1,800 people or not. And every year, the day before the event, I get a text that says 350, 400, 450. Those are your classmates. I want to urge you, I want to strongly encourage you. Take a picture, post it on Instagram, hashtag we remember, make a TikTok, share it with your Snapchat friends. Let those who chose not to come know that they are being complicit with their indifference. You know, when the Holocaust happened, while Anita was trying to escape Lvov, February 20th, 1939, 20,000 Americans gathered in support of Hitler at the Madison Square Garden. The Nazi machine of killing was able not only because of what happened in Germany and in Poland, but also because of what happened here in America. We are all responsible. I grew up with teachers who were survivors. I grew up with survivors who were the grandparents of my friends. They fought in the resistance. Unlike Anita, they didn't lose their parents, they lost their children. You're growing up listening to the testimony of children who were born during the Holocaust. Your children will grow up in a world without survivors. It is going to be your responsibility to tell their stories and to carry on the torch for the future generations not to forget. Again, if I want you to leave you with something in addition to the story of Anita this morning, I want you to leave this place with the responsibility of telling your friends that next year, 850 students from Don Sofer Aventura High School must be here to remember the Holocaust and to say never again. Please rise as we light the memorial candles in memory of 6 million Jews who were murdered during the Holocaust. May the soul of 6 million Jews who were martyred during the Shoah be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. Amen. The event concludes as you exit the sanctuary through our Holocaust Memorial Gallery, which can be accessed through that door to my right. I don't know if Dr. McKee or any of the teachers from the school are going to direct the students in a particular way. You can come to the podium and deliver your instructions, but if not, you can start leaving the sanctuary through that door there. You will see there our Holocaust Memorial Gallery, and then you will find the lobby and the exit from our campus. Thank you all for coming. Never again.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with this far to my right, so your left. That first whole section, you're going to exit again. Make sure you go through the Holocaust Gallery on your way out. Guys, we're going to go this way. After they go, we'll go from the center. Hey guys, again, we're exiting. Everyone go through the gallery, coming up through the front, exiting through the side exit in the front, the Holocaust Gallery. We're going to head straight back to school after that, and you're going back to your second period class when we get on campus. Again, everyone's exiting through the Holocaust Gallery right here to my right.
Sofer.